Moin Genossen and welcome back to Transport FIFA 2 Brutal Mode. And today we have a bit of a longer episode because we're just getting stuff done and I didn't find a suitable place to just cut it off and didn't want to speed up any of the time lapses. So, what are we doing today? Well, we are finally building a passenger line. We will connect Hema to Gentin to Korbach. And afterwards we're going to supply tools to Korbach and Gentin, because of course that's what they desire and their cities will grow if we delivered it to them, thus meaning more passengers and more money. So, as you can see, we're now doing the extremely interesting, not totally boring task of just building a track through fairly level ground, but, well, I mean, there it is. So what I did with the track was that I closely followed the river and had to construct this bridge right here, which I chose to construct it of steel, even though the actual steel bridge isn't unlocked in this stage of the game. I just thought it would be too annoying to replace the bridge eventually, so I just built it there. Maybe in the future we're going to replace it anyway, since it has a speed limit of only 120 kilometers and the rail support up to 160. But we'll have to see how efficient we're going to build a layout. I'd much rather have something that looks good and is a bit less efficient than something which is like way more efficient but just looks very ugly. Like for example, the mountain pass. You could easily just build a fucking tunnel through the entire mountain, but like come on, you can't even see the train going through that, and I just much rather have some nice pretty shots than just completely max out efficiency. So we're just having to connect up the last two bits of the line, and there are some tight squeezes in there with the road and the river, but it wasn't a problem at all, and in the end it just fitted together very nicely, and I think it looks quite good. Maybe in the future we'll replace it with more high-speed track, but I think that having like a regional train which goes like 160 kilometers an hour like the German Regional Express would be kind of a nice thing, and maybe Hema is going to be like a central metropolis where you could have a bullet train going across the map or something. So I just finished up building the switches for the track, and then I added a line which I just simply called Hema-Korbach train, because it's a train going from Hema to Korbach. And yeah, afterwards I just bought a train and put it on there, not too much of a task, and well, signals I didn't care at the moment because I only run one train at the beginning. Maybe later on we need to run more trains, and signals will need to be placed for that, of course. But I'm going to wait for the light signals over the mechanical signals because they will be unlocked in 1915, and I don't want to have all of these old mechanical signals around in the future. Like if you like reach 2020, I don't want all of these old style mechanical signals around, if you understand me. So, now that we built the train, we of course need to get the people off the platforms and into the buildings they desire to go to. So we're going to build some trams in these cities which we connected. Because, of course, buses in the early days were very terrible capacity, and trams were quite good, and I think they still are good. Just like in the 50s, people were like, oh yeah, cars the future, so trams, let's just scrap them. Not the best idea because of a little thing called climate change, but well, it's just life, I guess. So one of the tricks I recently learned was that by building trams and bus routes, the stops should be very close together, like only 2 streets apart each, because people actually don't want to walk as much as the game would make you think, because while it highlights a lot of stuff, most people don't actually want to walk the entire distance from the farthest reaches of the area that the station covers to the actual station. So building a lot of stations very close to each other is actually better. But of course you don't want to have station after station, because at the point it just becomes uneconomical for all of these stops. But just having a station every like 2 streets should be very good and should make us the most amount of money, which of course we want. So as you can see, our little train is carrying some passengers not at capacity at all, but we just constructed the tram station, so it should work out after a while. Now, as you might have seen, the real-time segments got cut back in the later episodes, and that's simply because I just thought them were very uninteresting, and as I could see in the analytics, most people just didn't even watch them, and honestly they were kind of lazy because I thought that I was doing a lot of work in the beginning, but actually I just did like nothing. I built like one trainer in the first episode and the rest was just like dumb shots. So I don't do that anymore, but well, for the people who like it, maybe I'll do an extra episode or something. So, as I said in the beginning, I'm now going to connect up a tools line with logs, of course, because you need logs for tools, although with the Expand Industries mod you can actually use steel for tools, but the plant was further up north. It was in Hema actually, and that was just too far away, in my opinion at least, and we already have the steel connected to something, which is of course the machines line we built in the last episode. This is the longest time lapse actually in the video, of course, because we have to build way more lines with the express line. Even if the express line is longer, we just simply have to create one continuous line, which isn't too hard to be honest, but especially going through like hills, which we have to do to get to the city of Korbach at least, is actually quite difficult because I mean, of course I could just go straight through with like a tunnel or a bridge, but I don't want to do that. I want to make it look good, so I'll always have to create my tracks with a lot of planning, or not really planning, but a lot of attention to how the terrain is formed, because I don't want to just end up building like a fucking 1 kilometer iron bridge over the entire map. Not just because it would be expensive, I could deal with it. I have like $1/4 billion in my account, but it would just look very ugly, and I hate things that just look very ugly. That's what, for example, why I decided to build the Hema Backbug the way that I did, following the terrain very closely, because I could have just waited for more money, but I just wanted to make it look nice, and I think that's, to me, way more important than any amount of profit maximization, like I said in the beginning. So what we just did and are currently doing is just constructing the cargo stations in the cities themselves, because of course we need to deliver the goods to the city, as you just seen with Korbach and with Gentin. And I built the another track for the goods line from the express line or passenger line. I'm calling passenger lines express lines because the passenger trains are typically faster than goods trains, although in late game the top speed of the different cargo cars becomes 160 km per hour, which is actually the same speed that the rails I'm using for the express or passenger road have, and therefore maybe in the future we could join the two up, but at least for now we are going to keep them separated. That's an Offspring song. Who cares? So, as I said, now what we just have to do is create the actual lines and buy the train, which, let's be honest, it's a bit boring, so let me just ramble a bit for a solid few minutes. Yeah, let's talk about the plans actually. I'd say that we're going to connect up every one of the cities, which is of course Hema, Gentin and Korbach, and maybe some others in this area, and then move to the other side of the map where we would also build up more cities. So then we could have a big, giant bullet train line going from one end of the map to the other, because first of all it will make a lot of money if done right. Not done right, you will lose a lot of money because bullet trains are really fucking expensive. But, second point, way more important, it will look really cool with all of the mountains. We can have like this Japanese style of trains with the viaducts and everything and a lot of tunnels. Oh yeah, anyways, let's get to the real-time segment. So, as you can see right here, what we are missing is signals. So, I mean, let's just quickly add them in so trains can actually move past each other and don't have to wait like an hour before moving every time. But before that, I just quickly wanted to connect up the actual industry, oh, no, it's actually commercial of tools. Wait, it's commercial of, that doesn't make sense. Why would commercial need tools? What the, this makes no sense. Wouldn't like industry need tools? Like, of course industries need machines, but tools? Like what sort of, maybe I'm overthinking this. Yeah, so we are just quickly adding some truck stops in here, and that should be about it. And then we quickly add some signals in, and we should be done with the lines. Signals are really not too complicated in this situation. I mean, we have some switches and some double slip switches, which is kind of becoming my favorite feature, because if you have just one branch line, like not a double branch line, a single branch line going off, then you just simply need one switch and not two switches. So it's just amazing, isn't it? So I just realized that the passenger train was getting overcrowded, so I added some other cars which had more capacity to the engine, and it was a bit slower in the end, like 10 kilometers, but it had literally double the capacity per car. And afterwards I realized I'd done a bit of a mistake with the platform, because I chose the same platform for unloading of the planks, that same with just the unloading platform for the logs, which is not a good idea because you don't want them blocking each other. So, seeing as this is the end of the video, I'd say that we've accomplished quite a bit today. Again, we built a passenger route and deliver tools, which is nice. So, goodbye, have a nice rest of your day. This is me signing off. Goodbye.